Okay, so now before we go to the Spring Boot web module, we first need to understand how the internet works. Now, this is a very general statement, but basically what happens when you, as a user, go to your browser, doesn't matter the browser, and want to visit a site, let's say your fancysite.com. What happens behind the scenes? Because you need to understand this before we dive into the Spring Web module. So if you pay close attention, whenever you visit a website, you will see that behind the scenes, without you typing this, the browser adds this prefix for you, this HTTP / and your website. Now, what basically means this? It means that the browser will go to that specific page, and that specific page will call the specific server, imagine like a computer, and will use this hypertext transfer protocol. HTTP stands for hypertext transfer protocol. And basically the browser will say to that website, hey, and the website will call the specific server. It will say, hey, give me all your information about this particular website, this particular domain, and the protocol which is being used is hypertext transfer protocol, and basically in a nutshell is just plain text. But it's not just plain text, but imagine like text which is being sent from the server to the browser, and based on front-end languages and design like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you will see all this text in a pretty format. So for now, what I want to say is this HTTP protocol, which basically stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Now, if you pay close attention, you will see that most of the websites have an S added to it. And now we need to understand what HTTPS means and what is the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. For example, if you visit your fancy website, and what happens behind the scenes is the browser will go to the server, but in the process of going to the server, this data is traveling across the public internet. And across the public internet means that a hacker can go to that specific place and hack and take all your personal data. Let's say that you visit a website like an e-commerce and you enter all your credit card information, your personal data, your email, your address, and so on. And if this data goes from the browser to the server into the internet, a hacker can take all your data and use it for evil. So as you can imagine, it's a pretty serious issue and it needs to be addressed. And that's why HTTPS stands, because S stands for security. So hypertext transfer protocol and security. And what security means in this context? Basically means when a website has this S attached to it on this prefix, it means that the data between the client, the browser, and the server, it will be encrypted. So for example, let's say my name here, across the internet it will be like these random strings which will travel from the browser to the server. So if a hacker will get my information, he won't have the access to the original information. It will be just some random numbers and letters, and he can't do anything with it. So this is the difference between HTTPS and HTTPS. HTTP and HTTPS. S stands for security and basically means it encrypts the data which is sending across the internet. Now, if you pay close attention, you will see that most of the websites are marked with this S. And why is that? I mean, only the websites, if you think about it, only the websites which you are entering personal data should be with S. For example, a presentation website which you don't enter any data, what's the point of having this S security attached to it? The reason is Google rankings. Google will rank your website if you don't have the S, will rank only the HTTP will rank your website as not secure, and this will affect your search rankings. So if you want your website to be on the first page, which basically everybody is searching there, nobody looks on the second page, you will need to have S attached to your website. But this is not a website course is just to understand HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and HTTPS. But now, maybe you are wondering, hey, how does the server know that this piece of information is Eduard Matei? So this is where SSL comes into play, secure socket layer. And let's go over to our example. Let's say that you go to a browser and go to your fancy website, and then you go to this fancy website, will call the server, and it will say, hey, give me information. Now, before it's doing this, the browser will ask something like this: who are you? It will try to identify, hey, are you the website which you say you are? Are you the server which way I'm trying to get the information? Or maybe it's a malicious server, maybe it's a hacker server. And the server will tell you back, yes, I am your master. I'm just joking. The server will tell you, based on, it will send to the browser a copy of their certificate. And this is where certificate comes to play. And it will tell the browser, hey, this is which certificate basically means like a digital fingerprint of that particular website, of that particular server. And the browser will look onto it and it will say, hey, looks good. And then, based on that certificate, based on that protocol, the browser will say, hey, let's exchange data. And for now, the data between the browser, the client, and the server, it's secure. And this is basically HTTP, HTTPS, and secure socket layer. Why it's important for us to know this? Because you as a Java developer, as a Spring developer, you will work on the server, and you need to understand behind the scenes how the server sends data. This is just a general overview to understand what happens behind the scenes when you visit a simple website.